All right, I saw Superman, the first movie into the new DCU, and I loved it. Now, let's get into the review. So I feel like for the longest time, we have been seeing Superman as more of a threat than more of a symbol of hope. I feel like the past content we've been getting, we weren't getting a hopeful Superman. Man of Steel, I feel like it was very a dark tone, a little too serious. So now that we're finally getting a movie where he's actually a symbol of hope again, just makes me excited. And David Cornsweet just was a great Superman in this movie. Now, this part of the video, it'll be a non-spoiler part, but then later on, I'll tell you when I get into spoiler territory, in case, you don't want to get spoiled. But I know James Gunn was talking about how it's not going to be like an origin film, which I respect that because, I feel like we've seen it many times where, he just crash lands from Krypton and, he gets raised. I think we've seen that many times. So, similar to the Batman 2022, it just starts off, it just jumps right into it. The action scenes were great. I love the fighting scenes, especially with Ultraman. I do think they do skip a little bit of things that they probably should have introduced, which I'll get into that more in like spoiler territory. All the supporting characters are great, especially Mr. Terrific. Oh my gosh, was he just such a fun character? In case you get the joke. I love Mr. Terrific. He was amazing. He was a cool little side character, and he didn't really steal the show, which I was a little bit afraid of when I saw these characters like Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl. I think the way that Superman just is in this movie is just what really stands out is that he's just trying to do good. Some people don't see that. They think he is trying to rule. They think he isn't what he's supposed to be. Lois Lane, especially, was a fun part of this movie. I thought she was a great Lois Lane. She has, that independence in the movie. Lex Luthor was just phenomenal. Nicholas Hoult was just like born for this role. His attitude, the way his hatred towards Superman was just amazing. And it made for like such a perfect villain for Superman. I definitely think he is one of the best comic book villains because, geez, his performance was just amazing. Krypto, I was very excited for because I love Krypto, the super dog. He was just fun. What can you say? It's Krypto. He was the best. I think he was my favorite character in the whole movie because, he's just like, who wouldn't like a super dog just flying around, beating you up? I know that might hurt, but, fun probably, having a cool super dog with you. But yeah, of course, Krypto was definitely the highlight and was probably my favorite character in the whole movie. Morphus was a pretty good character too. I feel like they could have covered his character and his story a little bit more. I feel like there was so much more to cover and they kind of just skipped over that, which I'll talk more about that in spoilers. But, I feel like this movie should have been like a little 2 hour and 20 minutes. I don't know exactly how long it was, but, it felt a little bit shorter. But I guess I understand. They don't make it too long. They want, everyone to enjoy it. And the action scenes were just on point. Yes, there are a few times where the CGI doesn't look super good. But, it's not super noticeable either. Like, sometimes you can blink and you'll miss it. But overall, I think the CGI is great. But there are some little moments. Anyways, okay. Now, this is the part where we will get into the spoiler territory. In the movie, when it's, showing, talking about the origin of Superman a little bit before, I feel like some stuff should have been covered, like the war scene that they were talking about. I feel like Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl were just not that important. It was weird to me how they didn't really care for Superman. There is the scene, of course, where they're in the Hall of Justice. Only Mr. Terrific goes with Lois Lane, but they just stayed back there. Ultraman being the secondary villain was also great. I loved him too. I knew a little bit about him. I know he's a clone or a variant of Superman, and I love the suit that they gave him too. It made him look like Black Noir. I like the concept of Lex Luthor studying Superman and timing when he would throw certain punches or his certain attacks, and Ultraman would hear that and he would find a way to block it or defend himself for it. It was a great concept. Something that I also think they should have, touched a little bit, how long it's been and how many years Lex Luthor has been spending, researching about Superman, studying him, watching his every move. I feel like that should have been utilized a little bit more in the movie. The Engineer was an alright villain. I didn't really care too much for her. I don't like what she did to Krypto though, throwing those micro things at his face. The comedy was definitely on point. I loved the comedy, the jokes, the music. It felt like it was from Guardians of the Galaxy, in case you didn't know, which most of you guys probably do know, that James Gunn actually did do the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, which I think is one of the greatest, trilogies out there. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the greatest Marvel movies out there. He picked pretty good songs, especially with the Mr. Terrific scene. Oh my gosh, that scene was just amazing, of just him using the little robots. while Lois Lane is in the bubble, he's just attacking all the soldiers in Lex Luthor's, area. The music, I love the song that they use at the end of the movie, Punk Rocker. I've been listening to that nonstop ever since I got out of the theater yesterday. But I think something that really stood out to me was the fact how Clark's parents sent him down there to destroy humans. I think that was a really nice concept, a different kind of concept, because it does, and because when that message does get leaked out and it's actually real, it's not Lex Luthor, making stuff up to blackmail. That's actually used, that he uses that to make people fear Superman. Superman trying to redeem himself, proving to the whole world that he is good and he is what he seems. His true parents were just Ma and Pa. Those were his real parents. Those were his true parents, the ones that raised him, the ones that cared for him. They were the ones who made Clark Kent Superman. After the Justice Gang, Superman defeat the giant kaiju monster and he comes down. You can see how the Justice Gang, they look like they're appreciating the fame more. And Superman, what he does instead of doing that, looking at everybody, accepting all the fame, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm this and that," he goes down and he hugs the children who are excited to see him. And that just shows how Superman doesn't care for fame. He only cares about the people being protected. The last scene where Superman goes into the ship and he's talking to Lex Luthor saying that he is human and that's his greatest value, because at the end of the day, no matter what, we are all human and we will make mistakes. And it's good to use those mistakes to learn and become better. At the end of this movie, you're going to feel like you want to be a better person. You're going to want to do good after this. And that's the best part of a Superman movie. You want to feel like you can be hopeful, you can be helpful, you can be super. We do get 2 post-credit scenes at the end of this movie. Really, I think there's only one scene that's the true post-credit scene. The first post-credit scene was Superman and Krypto on the moon looking at the Earth. I thought that was a really beautiful shot. The second post-credit scene was Superman and Mr. Terrific, little jokey thing of them looking at the, the building, seeing how crooked it looked. It was just a little fun gag. But there is a scene at the end of the movie where we see Clark Kent's cousin, Supergirl, coming in all drunk, trying to get Krypto back. Now, I have been seeing people on the internet talking about how it's disrespecting the character, even though it is comic accurate. I know James Gunn is using the comic book Supergirl World for Tomorrow as, the inspiration for the next movie that is coming out next year of June, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's about how Supergirl is upset or sad, however you want to say it, because she was technically raised as a Kryptonian. And unlike Superman, where he was raised on Earth, she lost everything since Krypton, was destroyed. And the reason why she shows up drunk at the end of that scene was because in the comics, she's always, drinking. And, that's the way to, to ease pain or ease grief. I even say how she goes to planets near Red Sun so she can't get drunk. Because, Kryptonians can't really get drunk. But yeah, I'm excited to see the movie. I think this is a great start to the new DC world. So overall, this movie is great. I love the movie. Despite some of its flaws, I do think this is a really, really, really good movie. Definitely need to go see it. It's probably my favorite movie of the year. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching my review. This is one of my first reviews, and I'll do more in the future. And also check out my stop motions and check out my other social medias. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. See you next video.